Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness. Come journey with us exploring the meaningfulness of astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Minahan, Sue Rose Minahan, Talk Cosmos, and today is March 8th. We're just within that not finishing, but we're still in the eclipse energy. The nodes are still resting at that powerful 8 degrees. That lasts 2 months, and we'll bring that focus back to you during this program. And we're focusing on the new moon and the full moon, with the Lunar Beats, as we call it. However, there's really so many cycles. It's as powerful, really, but maybe not marquee value, but having this Piscean unity consciousness with the Libra and what's our relationships with ourselves and others is deeply powerfully resonating. And it wants to give us what are we valuing and providing that gives us that loving, supportive energy, the consciousness as we integrate these eclipse energies. Well, we'll get started. So much more to say, and I'm excited to do that with my great ear that you will soon connect with. Now, thank you. We're ready.
Talk Cosmos explores the journey from the dark new moon to the full moon's blossomed brilliance. In this second week of the month, we look at the moon, our emotional anchor, as this personal planet weaves the past into the present through our memories, feelings, and habits. To decode this month's lunar beats shaping our world, let's meet the astrologers who will connect the moon's emotional story to our lives here on Earth.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
I'm Amanda Pierce. I'm a soul-centered astrologer, blending intuition into my practice. I believe the universe is always working for our highest good and seek to empower my clients in our readings. I teach a 4-week series of empowerment-based meditation classes that connect you deeper into your own intuition and innate power. I work in communications with a passion for employee experience. I also have a BA in psychology. I'm passionate about healing and enjoy helping others create new realities and shift old paradigms.
And like the Sufi poet Rumi says, you are the entire ocean in a drop. Well, isn't that appropriate for Pisces?
It sure is.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi, nice to be here with you.
It always is. And I was reflecting, I think so much to say. We're in that Mercury retrograde time, although today, is it today? Well, at any rate, we'll find out all this energies. Can't say it all at one moment. It's like burbling out of me. Well, let's begin. We can do it. Okay, there we are. 2 moons, the last of the 28 degrees for 6 months here. 28 degrees and 27 minutes of Pisces on the 18th of March. And then 2 weeks later, at the very beginning of April, on what some people call April Fool's Day, the Libra full moon at 12 degrees, 21 degrees, 21 minutes. Think, Sue, I'm saying too many things. And this is daylight savings time. I noticed that, here in Hawaii, we don't have it, but I neglected, so it is daylight savings time for most of the world. This shows the phases Last year we did the 4 phases, and of course there are 8 incrementally, but the 2 are powerful, and it really gives a story. Yes?
Absolutely, yeah. And we're starting out with that Pisces energy, and there's so much Pisces going around right now, and then we're bridging into the Aries, which is also pretty prominent. So excited to really dive into that.
The seeds, yes, the unity, and then the seeds going forth. Well, we'll look at it a little bit more here. We review what's in direct motion, everything except for Mercury. Mercury is in water. There's all this fire and air progressively happening, although the nodes are still in North Node is water and South Node in Virgo is in Earth. Mercury at this moment in this first chart, looking at the new moon on the 18th, is at 8 degrees 38 minutes, retrograde in Pisces. And of course, it's about our communication, our connections, our thought process. It's very powerfully located too, besides in modern astrology ruling the different signs.
And Mercury in Pisces is not considered a strong place. Like Mercury doesn't really like that Pisces energy because it's hard to direct it. It's hard to think clearly. And that's what Mercury really wants to do. It wants to organize and it wants to communicate with clarity. And Pisces doesn't really go there. It's more about like being immersed and being at one with things. But the real advantage of a retrograde is that you get to go inward with it.
And I think that is, if I might jump in, Amanda, really the gift of this, because there's got to be a reason why we're being given these antidotes, you might say, and in the astrological celestial sky, because by using our intuition, by looking at what prompts our attention to gaze, it isn't just collecting perhaps maybe data, but it's collecting input. It's feelings, it's emotions, it's memories, it's songs. It's what comes to us through music, all those Piscean energies, looking at artwork and getting a fuller picture of something that we wish to then, which is challenging. They say art has 1,000 words. Well, how do we say 1,000 words all at once? It is true. But that we're in this retrograde time, and the post shadow will end on the 10th of April. Jupiter, we're in this post shadow time up until June on the 6th, and Uranus at a post shadow time up until May. I think we have and nothing's out of bounds. Everything is like straight aligned with the sun, meaning perhaps this Mercury retrograde is really wanting to somehow give us messages that are more internally.
Yeah, and reclaiming that peace for ourselves, because especially with a Pisces new moon, and we'll look at that Sabian symbol, which I think is just really beautifully sums that up. This Mercury in retrograde, it's the one kind of chinky planet, I guess, nobody generally likes a Mercury retrograde, but there's so much benefit to it. We really get to go inward and tune to that intuition, reclaim it for ourselves as we're moving forward in this new moon period.
I love that word, reclaim. It's like it's always yours to begin with. Well, excellent. The retrograde ends, folks, on the 20th of March. You can look at this slide. Pisces, let's talk a bit about these two fish, one going in two different directions. It's really where you go downstream with the flow, and then you work a little harder to go upflow to reclaim the holistic sense. It's compassionate. It's imaginative. It's also can get along with Neptune, which in modern astrology rules it, which we'll talk with in a moment. But let's just focus on Pisces. What's your thought?
Yeah, I mean it's incredibly sensitive, it's imaginative, really tuned to the spiritual world and to that
Mm.
connection with the universe. And at its best, it's really in flow, in co-creation with the universe.
Ooh, mystic. Goody. And Neptune, the modern ruler of Pisces, really also is associated with horses. And this is the year of the horse. I love this. We think of it often with the ocean and it's calm. No, it's earthquakes. Poseidon was earthquakes and
Mm.
turbulence, storms. It's powerful.
Yeah, and it is really fascinating to think about Neptune being associated with horses and this being a fire horse year. And we need to balance out that fire with some water and with some earth so that we do not burn out this year. Because it's as you've had on your show, you had a fire horse year show, and I'm sure you talked about how it's a double fire year. Like
And we did last time of the eclipse.
we did.
Yes, I know. It seems like so far ago.
Yeah. So there is a need to really bring in water, bring in earth for ourselves, and consciously do that as kind of a remediation to help us balance out this year.
Water is in air. Well, clouds have air, water. Anyway, yes, air is in water. That's what I was saying. Oh my goodness, I agree with you. I agree. We'll move on. The same symbol. It's always rounded off for most people at the next degree. In astrology, Elsie Wheeler, 1925, with Mark Edmund Jones, created this powerful symbolism on a spiritual basis that many astrologers use, and progressively so. I am most impressed with the consciousness that it's bringing, the attention. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So 29 degrees Pisces is light, breaking into many colors as it passes through a prism. It is the analytical power of the mind, Mark Edmund Jones goes on to say, or Dane Ruchar in this case. It's the unity and breaking into into multiplicity.
Yeah, and it's really it's talking about how life and reality is multifaceted and it's layered.
Mm.
And often we get stuck in things being black and white when really there's so many tones of gray. And you could think of, instead of thinking of it as gray, you could reframe it as rainbow prismatic light coming through.
Yes, yes. This is a AI graphic that I worked with, and it shows this 29 degrees energy of exactly what you're saying, this beautiful rainbow of color. There's really many, many understandings how color represents feelings and dimensions. And together, it's white light and it's unified. And it is this threshold of the unseen. And
Yeah.
seeding, because it's bringing out, as we had said. Yeah, go ahead, Aries.
Yeah, and just a real opportunity to embrace flexibility and adaptability and kind of the appreciation for nuance with this Pisces new moon, which is so good at seeing the little nuances and the energy beneath actions or words or whatever our mundane reality happens to be. So really tuning to that so that we're listening to source. And that's where that flexibility and adaptability can be so helpful. We may need to pivot if we get a nudge from source to say something, or the universe to say something, or do something a little bit differently.
I love that word pivot. It embraces all the elements. It embraces the flexibility of mutable energy, which of course the nodes are in, and this moon is in, new moon, Pisces. It also accentuates cardinal activity, which one needs, which in a sense, it all relates. And you're standing on something. Well, how do you pivot? I guess anyway, I love it. Let's look at the chart.
Well, you
So
trust also, right? The pivot, part of the pivot is trusting that that the nudge you're getting, the direction you're being asked to go is the right one. And that's part of that fire horse energy too, is not stalling, taking that risk, but also making sure that you're grounded in it. That's
accessing the environment. It is a very, you're either walking or galloping, perhaps, or trotting, whatever, as you go through life. And it also supports this whole idea of trusting and the nuances of what impact is happening. The new moon in Pisces will be 28 degrees and 27 minutes, happening on the 18th of March. That's just a few days before the equinox. And on the Eastern time zone, in daylight time, it'll be in the evening at 9:23 p.m. And I chose this particular aspect to first talk about because it involves the sun and the moon, which happens to be in this mini grand trine between Uranus and Pluto, which will be at an exact trine, which will be very powerful and something important for us all to work with. It's very supportive progressively this year and next year, because they were conjunct back in 1964 to 66 at 16 degrees Virgo. They were square during 2012 to 2015 in Aries, I think it was. Anyway, was it Aries? Oh my goodness. Anyway, they were square. Let me think. Yes, it was. No. It would have been, yes, Aries. Aries square to Capricorn is what it was, because, that's what it was. So now they're going to be trine in air. Meanwhile, this Pisces moon, along with the brand new minted Aries, Saturn-Neptune in Aries, it's all combined.
And you can see in this chart, there's a lot of Aries in there, and there's a lot of Pisces in there. So we're still bridging that gap a little bit while we're moving into this new Aries world with Neptune and Saturn. We still have this Pisces dreaminess going on that we can really, really use to help us formulate that dream. We're still very newly in this energy. You don't have to have all your dreams formed completely at this point.
Good. And why would we really? That supports the whole memory that the advantage of what energy we're moving into is using the consciousness of the universe in however you witness that to aid your path. That yes, we have our intentions, and that's really what this new moon is about, is setting intentions. And a big reason why, Amanda, you and I are sharing with our audience the meaningfulness of how to understand how it might register with them, because to our plans get shared along the path. We get messages. And that's the beauty, the strength of using the universe as our partner.
And sometimes it's just, you get one piece of the message and you have to follow it, and then you'll get another piece down the road, and you don't get the full image right away. And that's about trusting the universe. And that is also a piece of that Pisces energy. And this is also the first new moon since we've had the two eclipses, since Neptune and Saturn have shifted into Aries and been conjunct at that 0 Aries point. So this is it's the first new moon in this new era. in a way to
And we'll
say.
go into more of its powerfulness. Yes, indeed. With a before here. Jupiter, the planet, the energy, the consciousness that wants our belief systems, that can be quite opinionated and righteous in some ways until it gets more information and it breaks up or it enters and it reforms what our perspective is. And here we're getting a lot of activation through what values are for ourself and what identity, what's our identity, because Venus is in right at that midpoint in at 15 degrees Aries. And also the supportive flow coming from Mars in looking at the big spectrum of things, the wider unity in Pisces, and they're both water signs, trying to reform the story. And the strategy. It's very complex.
Yeah. And I think the Venus moving into Aries, it's the first personal planet that has moved into Aries since the Neptune and Saturn were conjunct at that 0 Aries point, and which is ushering in this new era for ourselves. And so Venus coming in really is kind of personalizing this for us. And Venus is it's the great attractor, it's the yin principle, and it represents relationships. So with this Aries energy, which is very it's pioneering, and so bringing Venus in right now gives us an opportunity to rethink how are we doing our relationships and what needs to change. And Venus in Aries, it's all about, what do I want? What do I value?
Exactly. Thank you. Because in every relationship, I know Libra, my blog that I just sent out focused on this a bit, because Libra wonderfully is very centered on the other, on something other than self. However, the shadow side can be externalized so much as to trying to gravitate and to adjust, their actions or coordinate or blend with that other. And the real truth of the fact is that the polarity, which gives that whole strength to it, is the self. And the self needs to have its values intact, which that is your identity. And that changes. But we're in a fire horse lunar year, which is fire. It all supports it. It's a number 1 year. And more than that, this 28 degrees, this is the last one. And that adds a huge focus because they were bookend. And I'll show this, the 28 degrees harmonic clock, you could say, started back in October 21st, I think, or 20th of 2025 at the new moon in Libra, which is about the same. Now we're at the full moon, which we will be talking about in this whole phase. And it finishes this, it's the second bookend, you might say, to the 28 degrees. And at 28 degrees of any archetypal sign, you've had a lot of experiences during the month to embrace and to end up almost saying, well, really, what was that story? What did I learn? What are my new intentions for it? So this 28 degree new moon is really giving us the totality. What seeds do I want to bring forth?
Yeah. And if you look at the number 28 in numerology, 2 + 8 = 10, which is a 1 vibration. And so for the last 6 months, this 1 vibration has kind of been bridging us forward to this new era of Aries and Fire Horse, and kind of ushering in that sense of, what do we need to do for ourselves to get ready for this? And this is that final one.
It is an amazing synchronicity, or I don't know if it's synchronicity. It is from ours, but it's the celestial clock of the universe has its orbital truth. We're
Yeah.
merely trying to understand the meaningfulness and to see how to make it successful and bring creativity into our life.
It's beautiful the way that the universe kind of layers in the lessons and brings it into this. It's so multifaceted, again, about that rainbow prism. There's so many different layers of us learning and growing together, and yet it all kind of flows into this nice harmony.
It does, because there hasn't been a 6-month period at the same degree, perhaps ever. I know I looked at that myself last year, wondering, I can't believe this. And then I happened to listen to Rick Levine's and Steve Judd in England. And Steve Judd, who's been an active professional astrologer for many years, said, it's never happened before. I thought, really? I wonder. I guess because I had also seen this and been wondering. And I asked AI, and this is what AI came up with. I tweaked it a little bit. And folks, you can look at it yourself. But there is, at this 6-month period, the 28 degrees, and it's locking in a sense, asking how have we integrated this, each archetypal part, because it's inclusive. You know, we need to have all our parts. Eris, anyway, we'll talk about that in the next half hour. But back in 2015, which is 9 years ago, it was 5 months. However, it was toggled between the very beginning at 0 degrees and 1 degree. It didn't just stay latched at 1 degree, but it was a fresh start. And you could say it was a new beginning. So you can check out. And all I know is that at that time, it was just finishing up that square between Uranus and Pluto. But flash backwards to 1962, that's quite a while back. In fact, if you inverse 2-6, it goes to 6-2. Sorry about that. But anyway, it does. And it was leading up to the conjunction, but it was still like 3 or 4 years away, because anyway, it was at 15 to 17 degrees. Now, during that time, there was a 7-planet Aquarius stellium, and they say that perhaps there was stability, but it was also during the Cuban crisis, missile crisis. Who knows? I don't know what the rhythm is, but I am saying that at this time, we're in an Aries moment of consciousness, such as we had discussed, and we have been all month. And as you had brought up, Venus is bringing our attention that it's about our values. Who are we?
Yeah.
Who's our identity?
And I don't know anyone that doesn't have stuff in relationships, right? It's like we attract in these lessons for ourselves. And so what is it that you want to really shift? Everybody's got something.
Yeah. Well, let's find out. We will. Oh my gosh. Okay. Before we leave, I'm going to leave you folks. You can go back to this. This is the US. Yes, there's a lot going on because those nodes are staying at 8 degrees, and it's affecting our natal Uranus in this at 8 degrees Gemini. So it's very flexible and it's really authentic. Uranus, push come to shove, wants what's happening right now to be authentically true. So those values are really helping as we transform. Okay, Amanda, I'll see you in a few minutes. Everybody, return with us. We have so much more. Thanks.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the yin period of Pisces, ruled modernly by Neptune and by Jupiter in traditional astrology of the ancients. By leaving a cycle based on the equality of all humans and brilliancy, Pisces concludes the 12 signs that energetically encompass the entirety of the universe, where humans have no control. As a mutable water sign represented by 2 fish swimming in opposite directions of the forces of life, we experience in Pisces the collective unconscious energy of the unknown. Intuitive, psychic Pisces completes the seed cycle, initiated with Aries' willful separation from the Piscean womb.
This is psychological astrologer Dr. Laura Todd. Please join me and Michelle Fleming March 14th through the 21st for Evolutionary Training's annual Goddess Awakening Retreat in Playa El Coco, Nicaragua. Enjoy daily yoga, well-being workshops, baby sea turtles, and more. To register, go to mythicsky.com.
Talk Cosmos ignites insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness with hour-long programs every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific on KKNW. Also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click their like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. You can listen to earlier podcasts since 2018, either on most podcast carriers or under the video tab on Talk Cosmos YouTube. To join our expedition and find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com and launch your week into the cosmic wonder.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga, we cover the world of animals. This week, March 15th, it's Behavior Training and Healing Sunday with me, and talk with your animal or human loved ones on this side or the other, and personal readings with Natasha Venter. Hope you can join us and plan to call in with your questions for either one of us or for a personal reading with Natasha. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Real people, real life, real radio. Alternative Talk 1150.
Here we go. This is Sue. I'm at talkcosmos.com and also at the YouTube channel at Talk Cosmos. And Amanda Pierce, you can email her at amandamoonastrology@gmail.com. The past, oh gosh, it's been intense. We've got the Capricorn Venus star point, the Saturn-Neptune Aries conjunction in several ways, vibrationally speaking, and with Dr. Stormy Grace. There was the eclipse with Amanda for Aquarius, and then also, and the fire horse with Jen Ing. And then also you can see the lunar eclipse again with Lillian Bennett and Dr. Tad. And coming up next week will be Astro Jam, the first time, and we're for this year, and we're going to focus on fire horse events. Who knows when and how and what, but it'll be always dynamic. And then, of course, we have the spring equinox vibrations. Karen Winderland returns, and next month for Uranus and Gemini, that is here to stay for 7 years, the great Mark Jones with Dr. Tad. Moon Journal is a wonderful lunar cycle self-reflection tool. It has guidelines inside and meditations, something that Dr. Tad has created. So you might check that out on her mythicsky.com. Hey, here we are, Amanda, as we reflect in this mercurial moment, still you and I talking while Mercury is doing its Piscean retrograde, flashing on all kinds of thoughts. It's really exciting. Reflective curiosity, because the moon does reflect the sun's energy. Just to bring that up to folks, it's our past regulator of time. It's our emotional strengths, our weaknesses, our stories. It's the full 9 yards, and this is its full moon, all blazed out reality.
Yeah, this is where whatever was seeded in the new moon period is going to bear fruit, or there will be some type of illumination.
Yeah.
And new perspectives are possible because new information will be present. So it's in moving from that Pisces moon to now a Libra moon, there can be some relational consequences to what we did seed in that new moon. And we talked about that Venus going into Aries. And so here is where we might see some developments from that.
We'll find out. To set the stage a little bit as far as highlights, the date will be, of course, April 1st, and all the planets are direct. There's always a little window in every year, some months years longer than others, but at this time, all the planets are direct. We'll be in post-shadow times. That means that we're following for the third time many degrees that we're leading up and then in retrograde. And to cover those three that will be evident will be Mercury in a past shadow that will path that ends on the 10th of April. Jupiter will be on June 6th, and Uranus will be on the 21st of May. And nothing is out of bounds. Well, looking at it, I couldn't help myself. This is a fun graphic. We have, as you will see, this will be more evident once you see the chart, but we have Jupiter, just as you were bringing up about trying to not find, but Amanda, your comment reminded me, and we've been talking about this, what's our belief systems? What's our philosophy of life? What's our story? And here, Jupiter, that's helping out in Cancer, is the negotiator along with Mercury feeding it energy. And along with that, Mars, it's activating. It's all pretty strong. But
yeah, and Jupiter, which had just recently been retrograde, now in its shadow, as you mentioned, in Cancer, Cancer is our roots. And so there's this reclaiming of our roots that has been happening. And we're still in that shadow period. So there's still an integration piece coming up, and some things that maybe have needed to be rooted out so that we can move forward and create these new dreams and this new reality for ourselves that this Neptune in Saturn Aries era is bringing forward.
Absolutely. And yes, it's a deep process of looking at really. We'll continue. I'll add my thoughts. Sabian symbol for 13 degrees is children blowing soap bubbles. And it was really about imagination. And imagination, though, not to overlook, but to really center, that is what fuels our manifestation with power to envision what is possible, what is capable, what would the potentialities be. There have even been movies that I remember one, I can't remember which it was, that had 3 or 4 different endings. And in fact, I think Outlander, for those that are following it, said that the cast had to fulfill many different endings so that they wouldn't even know how the ending is. But that's the truth. Even if by going to psychics, which for those of us that may or be, it really depends on what outcomes manifest to really know the potentials. There's so many inputs.
Yeah, and this children blowing soap bubbles, there's such an innocence to it, just that joy of play and creativity and kind of lightness of being. And also there's this piece around not holding too tightly to things, and because experiences are transient, like our belongings are transient, and to allow them to just be and go with the flow. I love how these bubbles, in this picture and generally when you blow a bubble, there is that prismatic rainbow quality. So this ties so nicely into that new moon Sabian symbol of the rainbow prism.
I love this. And I'm reminded too, to folk that we have free will. It's our free will that adjusts, and that's the gift. You go back into mythology, however it is, but we do have that opportunity. You can make your own bubbles. There's so many ways. You can put soaps with a great big hoop of a coat hanger, and they make huge bubbles. It's lots of fun.
Yeah.
Yes. So the 12-degree, 21-minute Libra full moon is going to be on April 1st in the evening again, in Eastern Daylight Time. That will be at 10:12 p.m. Here we have Jupiter strongly activating this entire consciousness that we've been bringing out. And that's what the graphic illustrated. And at the same time, really in a flow with Mercury that's in Pisces, getting that new information in all these different manners, imaginatively, maybe in illusions or truth or however it goes, but input into that watery emotional basis to bring out some kind of action.
Yeah, and Jupiter wants to bring abundance to us and bounty and good things, and sometimes it's a matter of letting them go, letting certain things go, so that the new can come in. And I think that's a piece here. Like Cancer it ties to our ancestors. It's our history. And it also is our emotions. And so like letting things flow emotionally, allowing the past to allowing yourself to let go of things from the past that have held you back.
Wow. And our childhood. That is so strong because Jupiter is our childhood. I know on a personal level. And of course, Mercury being retrograde. Excellent reminders to be concerned about. Did I do too many? I think I did. Let's go back one.
Yeah, one back.
Here we are. Pluto transformation along with Jupiter. Yep, we're getting the full deal here. It's connected with our contracts. Juno represents our contracts and relationships. And in that action with Venus of values, but it's also with Ceres, who sustains us, our nurturing through the grief. And I am constantly being reminded there is grief. My heart goes to those, not to mention quickly about it. We're trying to understand these things to those people that were embroiled in really difficult situations. But it's also sextile to this great conjunction that we're talking about. So there's new ways to manifest this transformation. Yes.
Yeah. And Venus has moved on from, it was in Aries in that new moon period. And it's in Aries for the remainder of March. And it's finally moved into Taurus. And this is a sign it's much more comfortable in. Taurus is a Venus sign. It's its own sign. And so it loves to kind of be at peace, be tranquil. It's very stable. And there's just more maturity with Venus in Taurus in its own sign. And so I think that when you look back at the new moon of Venus in Aries, Venus in Aries is a challenging position. It doesn't really like to be in Mars's sign, which is Aries. And so there could be some potential things that come up during this new moon period where we're trying to manage relationships and what we want ourselves. Whereas here in this full moon, we're kind of coming into our own a little bit more.
Or stabilizing, could we say?
And we really know what we want at this point. And with that square to Pluto, there could be a little bit,
letting go, strong.
And there could be a little bit of a power struggle, a little bit of pushback.
Always. Pluto is always, because if something isn't feeding you, and here, if your values, finding in Aries the identity of self, and here trying to put what is giving you self-reliance. So in other words, perhaps you'd instinctively learn that this identity and that action is necessary to find your identity of values. But now it's like, well, what are those values that are sustaining your self-reliance? And it's a complex, it's a process. Moon is always a process.
And and this Venus square Pluto, it's an opportunity to really embrace our power whenever that struggle shows up. It's that is the call. That's the call to action here, is to embrace our power and to stand in our power.
And to have that self-worth, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Stand for what we value and know that we're worth it.
Courage, folks. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, here we have essentially, I think we've put it in a nutshell, but it's a learning process, because this is a learning triangle. I learned that from Rick Levine, listening to him. Always give credit. And I looked it up, and sure enough, you have an action-oriented square, you have a flow going with a trine, and then you have an inconjunct, which says salt, pepper, how much, oil, vinegar. Yeah, we're mixing these things up, because the point is that moon is very involved, as we know, activating with Jupiter. But meanwhile, Mercury and the moon have different focuses or ambitions that they're working, who knows? But the fact is, Mercury and its wave of, and it's not retrograde at this time, remember, it's direct, but still within that large mix, looking at the whole picture, the unified source. And the moon in its relationship might be saying, well, yeah, but that doesn't really relate with my story and my relationships of me and others. So it's a mix. But you're learning because you're refocusing on that big picture, that story of Jupiter, of our family, of us, of me, of the country, of self, of friends.
Yeah, and that Libra moon, which is Libra, is it's an air sign, so it's not super feeling, and that Mercury in Pisces is not super good at articulating. And they can kind of help each other here. So the moon can help Mercury kind of articulate its feelings, and Mercury can help the moon access kind of deeper emotional layers here.
Amanda, I remember that. Almost Antisha, because Libra and Pisces are Antisha signs. And when it adds up to 30, and they're almost, so if you take 1221 and you take 1439, that is almost 30 degrees 29. It's very close. So they're in a sense seeing the shadow of the light. Their light are equal, but they're seeing dimensions of other side. Oh, I'm enthused. Well, let's see what else we have. It all is ahead of us, but we're trying to remember it. There's a fact. Well, again, Amanda and I are not necessarily mundane focused, but I couldn't help but look, living in this nation, like what's going on. And so we have the independence chart, July 4th, 1776, which, using the Sibley, which is a common one, it's 5:10 p.m. So there is, of course, and I keep reminding folks, just like in the new moon, those nodes are going to stay there at 8 degrees until April 16th. They started on February 16th, and they're staying till April 16th. It's not new. This happens every time we have an eclipse. Whatever nodes are going to stay at the same degree for 2 months. And therefore, but it does activate, in the purposes, how is that activating a chart? Well, it activates the United States natal Uranus of what's authentic, what's happening, what information are we believing to be true. And along with it, there's, but we have here a Thales point, which is a collaborative flow and connection between those transiting nodes that are staying stable. And it's with that wonderful Venus in Taurus of what's sustaining us, as Amanda has so well put out, about values. So you can look at this the best you want. But let's go on. Philip Sedgwick is another great astrologer who's quite active and has skyscraping, if you are part of his newsletters. And he just published this that I had to give credit to. Creative passion is, I would say, the name of the game. Saturn sextile Pluto. And if it will flourish if for those that are unafraid, and assimilating Neptune, because Neptune's saying you got to have a vision. That helps.
Yeah, this and I love this, and that Pluto is like, it's with a sextile, it's not a guarantee. You kind of have to reach for it. And it's not a like a trine is a really steady flow of energy towards between the two planets or points. Sextile, you have to kind of reach for it, and so there is this opportunity to grab onto this passion and really help it fuel that vision for yourself and fuel this new world that we're bringing in for ourselves.
Isn't this really a powerful link to associate through all this shifting transition, which wherever the dominoes begin and end, we're within this process, because Saturn ultimately cares what is essential. What can I work with that is the fundamental basis of something? And Pluto has an obsession to go, I just can't let go. I've got to find out, what is the truth? What's underneath all this mire, to dig down, find the treasures. Together, it's an energy consciousness that will keep us moving, trudging or courageously, I think.
Yeah, and Saturn is the last planet visible to the naked eye. So it's the last that is within our that's available to our consciousness. And so it helps ground these outer planets like that Pluto and that Neptune into something that we can really bring into this time-space continuum that we're living.
Yeah. I've kept this graphic on Wayne Dyer. He's a huge, popular, transformative author and speaker, now passed relatively in the last few number of years. And Hay House, at any rate, he says, change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. It's a truism that I think really is the truth of this, whether we look at Pluto, whether we look at the new moon and the new and the full moon, Jupiter, the information, it's amazing to recognize.
Well, and I think I think that's one of the beautiful things about astrology is that you can look at it in so many different ways, through so many different lenses. And there's an opportunity to look at it through the lens of the universe is here to help you. And that's what I always that's how I always want to look at a chart, at the energies flowing, because when you start to think in those terms, then life is less scary,
Absolutely. The fearfulness. And that gets back to the Libra idea, that gets back to the Venus idea. Libra that thinks of the external. Hey, wait a minute. And I'm not poking at Libra because it happens to be the Libra full moon. I have plenty of Libra in me. Thank you. But it is because, and I am saying that the gift here is to realize that if we focus though on the external, then it can become fearful because we don't have the power. It goes back into the idea of Pluto to realize, and in that whole transformation, it's also Venus, which is the love factor. What do we love in life that we feel gives us that desire that we can feel? Because through feeling, we get that manifestation. And it is by centering within. It is our own value structure.
Yeah.
There is meaningfulness. And I think there's creativity involved. We have Mercury. We will work through this. Thank you, Amanda Pierce.
Well, thank you, Sue. It was lovely to be here with you and with everybody watching.
Yes, indeed. So, folks, lead on through the seeds of the Pisces. We'll find the relationship of going forth this month. Wishing you all the best. Thank you.
See you next month.
Thank you for joining this vibrant and insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests awaken consciousness by connecting heart and soul consciousness patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.